Welcome to the International Federation of Rural Surgeons, Rural Surgery Videos. This is a summary of the presentation made by the team from Maulana Azad Medical College and University of Leeds to the surgeons in Bombay. The primary presentation was carried out by Dr. Anurag Mishra. This is about taking minimally accessed surgery or laparoscopy surgery to the resource-poor setting. The talk was primarily about gasless laparoscopic surgeries. What is the context? Everyone knows that minimal access surgery is better than open surgery. This has been proved by many meta-analysis, large-scale studies. And this is true for most of the procedures, especially the common procedures like cholecystectomies, appendicectomy, and so on. But then who gets greater benefit from these minimally invasive procedures? The urban population can afford to take rest or take off for a while it's rural patients who need to get back to work as soon as possible. And unfortunately, the minimal access surgeries with so many benefits are not available to the poor and the remote and rural areas. And this is because of several causes. The primary causes, of course, is a very high expense. And then the most important problem is that for laparoscopic surgeries, we need the gases, both for anesthesia and for surgery. In this background, the gasless surgeries or gas insufflation-less surgeries have a great advantage. There is no need for gases. And the surgeries are possible under spinal anesthesia. If you look at the need for laparoscopic surgery, you need to see the structure that you operate. So there is a telescope, the light source, and monitor. And again, we need the space which is created to make the instruments move freely. And in laparoscopic surgery, it's a carbon dioxide gas which provides the space. On the other hand, with this instrument, the space is provided by the lift apparatus. And the advantage is that it is possible to carry this out under spinal anesthesia. And the various physiological changes which are caused by the carbon dioxide is not there with gasless surgeries. And this device found its way into the compendium of medical devices for resource-poor setting by the World Health Organization. How did this all come about? The entire process started during the Association of Rural Surgeons of India conference in Kulu in 2016, which started as an informal chat. And then slowly it developed into the medical colleges willing to try this out. And that is how the Maulana Azad Medical College became involved. And thanks to the University, PGSSC of the Harvard University, they got a lift device. And then they started doing a randomized study. So this study was to compare laparoscopic surgeries with the gasless laparoscopic surgeries. Ideally, the study should have been how to compare laparoscopic surgeries with the open surgeries. And but unfortunately, this is a little difficult because many of the patients, especially in the cities, would like to have laparoscopic surgeries. So then the decision was made to make it a non-inferiority study to see how gasless laparoscopic surgeries compare with the traditional laparoscopic surgeries. So they developed the inclusion criteria and exclusion criteria because they wanted to do a proper study. And patients are divided randomly into two groups, one for gasless laparoscopic surgery and the other for conventional laparoscopic surgery. And the statisticians gave a sample size about 150 in each arm to get any significant outcome. The method was that simple. They had, two surgeons doing the procedures, and the patients were chosen randomly, and various parameters were compared. The primary outcome measure was the operating time. Then the secondary outcome measures were the intraoperative monitoring of the vital signs. They measured the pulse rate, the carbon dioxide saturation, the blood pressure, and then in the post-op period, whether there's any umbilical pain or periumbilical pain, abdominal pain, or shoulder pain. And more importantly, the surgeon satisfaction in a scale of 1 to 10. This is how it panned out. There were 133 patients who were recruited for the study or considered for the study, and 33 were excluded based on the criteria which was given earlier. And then they were randomized to two arms, and both of them had equal numbers. And fortunately, none of them are lost to follow-up, and they were able to analyze the complete 100 patients. So this was the finding. The significant finding was that most of the parameters, there's hardly any significant difference. The significant differences were found where it was advantageous to the gasless group. Like the maximum heart rate was much less in the gasless group. Again, the variations of the heart rate were much less. And obviously for the ETCO2 variation also will be much less in the gasless group. And the time, although it is quicker with the gasless group, it was not statistically significant. And the post-op period, as expected, the periumbilical pain was slightly higher in the gasless group. On the other hand, the shoulder pain was higher in the traditional or conventional laparoscopy group. But the differences are not really significant. Again, coming back to the surgeon satisfaction, which is graded in a scale of 1 to 10. After 5 cases, it is above 50%. Or in other words, just doing 5 procedures, the surgeons were quite happy with the gasless. And the satisfaction keep rising as they started doing more and more number of cases as expected. So what are the conclusions? The gasless laparoscopy is a non-inferior alternative to conventional laparoscopic surgery in terms of operating time or pain. And the equipment which is used, the Stan laparoscopy positioner, gave almost comparable exposure, so that if we just watch the pictures, there's hardly any difference, and you can't make out whether you're doing conventional laparoscopic surgery or gasless. And as expected, gasless had better intraoperative hemodynamic stability and parameters. And it's a safe surgery and it's fairly quick to learn. So this is the reason why the MAMC group felt that it could be used in a wider way in a low resource setting, because it offers a safe and affordable laparoscopic surgery. Then after this talk by Dr. Anurag Mishra, Millie from University of Leeds, they are the biomedical engineering group who worked on the second generation of lift device. They presented their thoughts. They experienced that most of the time the various innovations or developments in medical device were by the commercial groups, primarily based in the West. And this is the first time they're trying so-called participatory method for innovation which are relevant to the low and middle income countries. And why did they do it? Because they found that 80% of the medical device sales is in the West. And they are designed primarily for the Western countries based on their requirement there. And also they found that there are a lot of people who donated equipment to rural hospitals or mission hospitals all over the world. And about 40% of them were lying not in use. They're unused because they were not relevant to those places. And once they have any small problem, it is not possible to correct those problems. So their aim was to develop this device and make an appropriate design or equipment which is relevant for the rural areas. Because in rural areas, we need to take care of the fluctuations in power supply. There are hardly any trained staff, and there is a remote location makes it difficult to get the consumables and so on. So they devised this method of frugal innovation and participatory design for a global surgical device. The device needs to be used both in West and in the rural areas. So first thing they did was they talked to many of the rural surgeons who were using the device and found out what are the problems they encountered with the current device. Like they found this device little heavy and difficult to use. The BMI was high, more than 28 to 30. And the device is so long that it's not possible to use in the regular autoclave. And the whole equipment was difficult to carry and use and so on. So then again, they had a participatory type of innovation. They tried various choices and discussed with the people who are working in the hospital to find out how relevant or how feasible it is, both from the West and in rural areas. Then they devised this raise up lift apparatus, which is a second generation lift apparatus that is being used. And first did cadaveric studies. And there was a company in Delhi which was used for manufacturing these prototypes so that if necessary, they can scale it up and it'll be easy for them to work in future. So the current status is that after one cadaveric study, which is conducted during ARSA conference in Bagalkot, there were many feedbacks, and all those feedbacks were used to make the necessary modification. And now we are waiting the second cadaveric study in December this year. And what is the plan on implementation? Again, it needs to be participatory in that there are people in African countries for whom it is very relevant, and many are interested in learning gasless laparoscopic surgeries. So the plan is to involve everyone, all the stakeholders, and even in implementation, use the participatory method. So what did they learn? What they learned is that it is important to go down to the level of the people who are using it in remote areas. And sometimes they have much better ideas than the engineers or doctors in the West. And once we incorporate the ideas from both the East and the West, it is possible to come out with a solution which is relevant to both the East and the West. So this method is briefly to identify the challenges and opportunities, then evaluate and validate it, and then define the pathways, requirements, and finally make the product. And after this, Dr. Lovinesh Bains presented his experience of how we travel to rural areas and perform gasless laparoscopic surgeries. So he came to for the surgical camps which are organized by the ARSI. First to Northeast, a place called Dimapur in Northeast. He also visited the primary health center in Jaluki, which is about 35-40 kilometers, but takes about 3 to 4 hours drive there. And then he came to another place called Balukpong in Arunachal Pradesh. So this is the operating room. They were quite stunned by it because it is a very small space because of the private place, and it's not huge like the medical college or the private hospitals. But then they're able to make their own adjustments and plans to offer the necessary treatment. And they found that when we did the gasless cholecystectomy, there's hardly any difference when they just looked at the pictures, because the exposure is adequate, it is adequate, possible to adequately dissect and do the surgeries. And also had the advantage that there's no gas and it's much quicker. In fact, some steps like removing the gallbladder is much easier. So again, he insisted on how he talked about the various methods, which primarily involve the patient safety, then the need for training and producing quality care and relevant equipment, which is necessary for producing a high quality care. Later, they were also involved in what is called the target training program, which is planned and organized and conducted by the team from University of Leeds. This is because everyone knows the benefits of minimally invasive surgeries, and it is not available in rural areas. So this is the opportunity to take gasless surgeries to rural areas. But then we need to, the proof of the pudding is in eating it. So we need to train the rural surgeons to see how they can perform. So this first training program of what is called the target training was conducted in the Medical College in Calcutta. The teams from Maulana Azad Medical College, then Karunya University, and the University of Leeds were involved in organizing this program at the Medical College in Calcutta. Again, going back to the need for such a program, it's well known that surgical site infections are higher in lower income countries. And again, with laparoscopic surgery, the infection rate comes down. Whether it is both in the high income countries or low income countries. And infections are associated with the significant post-operative morbidity. So it is good if we're able to provide laparoscopic or minimally invasive surgeries in rural areas. And this is the STAN equipment, or the STAN laparoscopic surgery position, as they call it. And then the way to go about this design or accessing, making it possible for rural patients to have these surgeries, to first to build networks and then start developing solutions. Then finally work on clinical evaluation and health economics, and finally advocate the program. So the first few steps are already done. We really had a network already which is willing to work together, like the ARSI, the University of Leeds, the Karunya University, the Maulana Azad Medical College, and the Calcutta Medical College, and so on. And the solution is already available in form of equipment for gasless surgery. And then there's a little more details of the target training. It's not just a simple way of choosing few people and training them. They had a proper scientific assessment. And the training was similar to the well-validated FLS program, the Mistel score, the OSAT score. All these were used in the design to make sure that the study is carried out scientifically and in a validated manner. So the program started with choosing 6 rural surgeons who work in remote areas in Northeast. And first, they were taught the various skills through the FLS program. But of course, these are modified to use for gasless surgeries. And then they also had actual experience of being part of the surgery. They initially did a diagnostic lab, and then the faculty took over completing the surgeries. And this is the team which were involved in the target training program at Medical College in Calcutta. And then this was again followed with what was called the proctorship. So here, after the training, the rural surgeons are given the equipment to take back to the hospitals, and also, low-cost, ultra-low-cost trainer box to practice surgeries, and then start doing surgeries in their own place. And after they started, then the faculty from the medical colleges and the team from Leeds and others went to these remote places. And under supervision, they were able to carry out these surgeries. So this is a unique thing which happened because unlike many of the training programs where the trainees go to the medical colleges or the large places, the faculty went to the remote areas. And the training really were very relevant because once they find that they're able to do those surgeries, they continue doing them. For instance, during the lockdown period, the Dr. Biju in one of the remote hospitals have done about 30 to 40 gasless surgeries. And these were done to facilitate many of the rural patients also, because in Medsifema, there was a huge demand for laparoscopic surgeries in a very remote community health center. So this is the proctorship program held in 2 places, and this 23 surgeries are done in the first place in 2 days, which included cholecystectomies and appendicectomies, diagnostic laparoscopies, and ovarian cystectomies, and so on. So what are the challenges? In many of the rural areas, they don't have specialists, and getting equipment, especially for laparoscopic surgery, sometimes they need to travel from 300 to 500 kilometers. And transport in these remote areas are very, very difficult. And more than anything else, lack of anesthesiologists is a major setback. For example, the anesthesiologist who helped in Balukpong, he had to come to Itanagar and travel about 6 to 7 hours to reach the place, and then travel from Itanagar to Balukpong, which is about 4 hours. So getting them it was okay because it is for a training program and so on. For them to regularly be available, it is very difficult. So any innovation which is necessary for rural areas needs to be frugal, collaborative, and safe. So this is primarily the process of how this is carried out. And because the people in the rural areas were very enthusiastic, it was fairly easy to empower them. And the result of the empowerment was that when you calculated before they started learning, there about 600 surgical procedures were done per 1 lakh population in those areas. And Lancet estimates are needed 5,000. But then within 2 years, it went up to almost 3,500. There's almost a 5-fold increase in the surgical coverage. And now the good thing is that the rural surgeons are maintaining a registry of what they are doing and recording, and we are able to have an assessment to find out how they are progressing. And the progress has been really good. For example, one of the surgeons decided to operate or do a cholecystectomy on his wife with a gasless method. And they keep in touch through WhatsApp and other means. And now even started Zoom supervision of the surgical procedures. And later on, there was a discussion, and the major questions asked were about the complications. Although there was only one perforation in more than 1,000 gasless surgical cases, and the wound infection is about 6%. Other than that, there is no significant complications because of the gasless procedure. And some people in Bombay felt that nowadays gases are available fairly easily, and the Chinese made the cost come down quite a bit. But then getting anesthesiologists is a very difficult thing. For example, when they need anesthesiologists and they call them to the place, the patient have to pay about 3 to 4 times the cost they pay for the surgery to the anesthesiologist. And getting the gases and other equipment again is very difficult. And also they wanted to know which are the other places where this is being carried out. In rural areas in Jharkhand, Uttarakhand, and South India, the local rural surgeons have started performing these. And people also want to know whether this is more difficult in men because they are muscular. Of course, the lax abdomen in women makes it fairly easy to do. On the other hand, it is a little more difficult in men. But under anesthesia, it's all right. The only difficulty is that when they start coming out of the anesthesia and start using the muscle power, then it becomes a little difficult. And there was immense satisfaction from the engineering team who helped in designing the second generation of equipment. And the plan is that this equipment will be used later in training surgeons in Kenya. Thank you.